office of President of the United States of America is one that has held various amounts of power throughout the years. One man in the early 20th century really revitalized and defined the presidency for years to come. This man was Theodore Roosevelt. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what made him so cool and what made him such an awesome leader? Let's take a look at some of the things that he did while in office as president. One of the things that really stuck out to me that just, screams leader was that during the Spanish-American War in Cuba, he kind of formed this little task force of people called the Rough Riders. They were somewhere between a group of Old West cowboys and the modern-day Marines, and they rode up on these horses just up a hill, and he led the charge. The president himself did, which I don't think you'd ever see nowadays. And during this charge, he lost his glasses, so blindly up a hill against the Spanish, he led a charge directly in the gunfire. I thought that was definitely embodies some sort of leadership qualities. Theodore Roosevelt is still, to this day, the youngest president to ever hold office. Theodore Roosevelt is responsible for building the Panama Canal. And I mean, that's a feat in itself, organizing that manpower, taking everyone down there, eating food, just the logistics of it just give me a headache, jeez. Theodore Roosevelt is also responsible for expanding the national park system. I think that's definitely a great thing that he took areas of the country and helped preserve them. He helped keep them together. But in reality, Theodore Roosevelt was an avid hunter and did take a lot of this national park land just for sort of his private hunting reservation. But shh! Theodore Roosevelt also had a policy known as speak softly but carry a big stick. This essentially meant that he was going to try and use diplomacy to get his way with other countries first. And he was going to engage the leaders and attempt to be diplomatic, but Theodore Roosevelt wasn't really a guy to get pushed around by anyone, so if they weren't going to do what he wanted, he was going to go down there guns blazing, and he was going to get his way. This was sort of what happened with the Panama Canal. He offered the deal to Colombia originally. He was going to give them this huge amount of money and all this great stuff. It was going to be a pretty good deal for Colombia, but they just didn't really like the idea of the Panama Canal. So Theodore Roosevelt personally, without consulting Congress, found a group of rebels within Colombia, and he offered them the same deal if they'd break away and make their own independent state and let him build the Panama Canal. So yeah, he kind of just went around Colombia and Congress and financed this revolution within Colombia, and that's how the state of Panama was formed. I mean, that may not be the most honest thing, or the ideal kind of leadership, but that's you definitely took some leadership there, some leadership qualities. Now, things that worked well for him as a leader. He was definitely what I would consider to be an activator. I chose to do my project on Theodore Roosevelt because he was someone who he'd come up with an idea and he'd put it into action. He was never really sitting still. He was out chopping firewood, he was playing football, he was an active guy. He wasn't someone who ruled from behind a desk. He'd go out there and he'd go talk to people, he'd get things done, which I really like. I really like that about Theodore Roosevelt. And, my guess is that he would also have been a maximizer as well, because when things didn't go his way, he would get pretty upset. He probably could have been considered a bully by a lot of people. He really didn't like being told what to do. Everything had to go his way, absolutely all the time. So, Like with the Panama Canal, he pretty much bullied Colombia into doing exactly what he wanted. And again, going over the notion that he just did a lot of things without consulting other people. So I think that's kind of a dishonest thing to do as a leader. But I mean, again, you know, he was a maximizer and activator, and especially in government, it takes a while to get things done. So I guess overall what I'm trying to say is I think that Theodore Roosevelt is an important historical and political figure in our country's history. He helped to revitalize the political office that was substantially weakened by the Civil War. He revitalized the entire executive branch of government. Do I think he made the best choices as a leader? Absolutely not. He definitely planted the seeds of resentment in a lot of countries and around the world. We're still feeling some of the effects of the things that he did today. Luckily, history views a lot of things he did in a favorable light. But overall, I think he did have good intentions. That's why I think Theodore Roosevelt was a good leader and worthy to do a project about.